Okay, so as that loads, so we're going to actually learn about dream time today. It's an important part of the Aboriginal culture, so it's kind of interesting to learn about. Real quick though, I have a question for you all. Why are stories and storytelling important to a culture? Anyone have any ideas? Think about stories that you like, folk legends, or even back to the Greeks and the Egypts that you learned about, or even stories that your parents told you. Why might stories be important? Yes.
Because they didn't really have like a way to write like way back, so they just like told stories and like passed it down so that they wouldn't forget like what happened.
Yeah, that's a great answer. A lot of the time there was an oral tradition of passing down information and parts of the past and different stories and things that make up how a culture is, and they weren't able to write it down. They would either tell it orally with an oral story tradition, or they might have it on art form. So anyone else have you had
What do you think defines like their culture kind of defines like what they like to do?
Yeah, stories do define a culture. You can actually take a lot from stories and see the values of a certain culture and what they believe in and what makes up that particular part and section of the world. Yes.
Like if there's like an important story about like a hero or something like that, then maybe the people of the place would kind of idolize the hero in the story.
Yeah, it was also like a way to kind of let the entire, all the people in a group what the news was or what was going on. It's important for, to tell the tales. We can now look back at books and see, the heroism in different wars and different inciting events, but they didn't have that before. So they did kind of have to say it, have a bunch of people come around and talk to them about it, or write on walls and have art. So kind of think about that as we move on, but we're gonna go and learn about dream time, and as I said, we're gonna do a really fun game afterwards, kind of incorporating dream time, but if anyone's played, it's like a version of telephone, so just remember that. But yeah, so dream time is one of the most important beliefs to the Australian Aboriginal people. It's in part of their mythology, so think of like myths and legends and gods and goddesses, and kind of think of that as the now. It's still relevant to them right now. It's not something in the past. It's not something that isn't thought about now. It's still really an important part of their culture. So dream time is like an age of the creation. It's the past, present, and future. It's including all life in its shapes and forms. It's the story of events, how they happened, and basically how things came to be. So the universe, humans, plants, animals, landscapes, kind of how everything was made and created. So the beings that or the gods that created the world and are being a part of dream time are called dreamings. So these are just like spirit beings. They're usually shaped like humans or animals, and they're kind of like the figureheads of all the different stories that come from the Aboriginal culture. And they made, the important part of this culture is the landscape. They lived on the land. It was all nature and natural based. So they made the rivers, the streams, the water holes, the hills, the rivers, all the sort of landscapes and rock formations that you see, they're all based off and have a story on these gods and dreamings. The dreamings also gave, they believe that the dreamings gave them the tools to kind of, make things, and also how to be, so their customs and things like that. The one god in particular is the rainbow snake. So this dreaming is the one who brings the rain and thought of as a fertility type figure and deity, and they kind of worship this deity to help these sort of things happen. Now, dream time influences all life for the Aboriginal people. So it includes like sacred laws of the land. There's certain sites that are sacred, so that humans actually aren't allowed to go in because they're considered sacred. You shouldn't disturb that site. also different food customs or customs in general, how they do things, laws, for instance, marriage rituals, initiation rituals, so anything to do with growing up and becoming an adult. Also, any death sort of customs. They're all sort of inspired in honor of these gods to kind of help out the culture. They also influence artwork and songs and dance. So many traditional dances and songs are include parts of the dream time and different stories being told. They use them to pray for like a good hunt or to have a good childbirth. It's all an important part of their culture, and it's all relevant to everything that they do. Dream time is super important. Also, another, as we mentioned before, rock art. So many different types of art that you see is actually in reference to the dream time. So these are two pictures of Aboriginal artwork or rock art that explain different stories or different figures in the dream time and the dreamings. So this is kind of an example of what they do. So Aboriginal arts tell the stories of the dream time. The gods, the creation, how things are meant to be. And they're ways for newer generations to kind of see the past and be able to get these stories in their own and have their own interpretations of them. And it's a way for them to visualize and learn about the beliefs that are really important to that culture. And like as you mentioned, they explain how certain things in life came to be. So with that in mind, we're going to do an activity. So pretend you're an ancient Aboriginal member and there's no technology, only nature. So you're going to think of, how things came to be. You're going to think of a story yourself. So these are stories that answer questions to the world. So I'm going to pass out these papers. Now, I want there to be 4, if we can, or 4 or 5 to a table. So if you can just kind of move around really quickly, get into 4 or 5 table groups. So everyone write your name on these sheets, and then we'll kind of go over the directions. It's kind of important to listen because you want to know how to do the game. But yeah, real quickly, just write your names on the sheet. I'll be real helpful to me. Yes. All right, so to do this activity, you are going to answer a question. Now I am going to hand out questions to you. Now, whoever gets the question, only you are allowed to look at it. Because the purpose of the game, like with telling stories and how they change over time, is to try to see if the end result is the original question. So, I'm going to pass out a question, and again, don't show it to anyone else. Now, this person who gets the question is going to write out their answer, so their story as to why this happened. And somebody just walk around. Okay, so all eyes up here. So see this? First person who gets the question is going to write down their answer. Then when they're done, they're going to pass it to the next person and they're going to flip it over and they're going to draw what that answer is. They're going to try to draw the story. Remember, we're not trying to, it can do it however your ability is, it's just trying to get across the story. The third person is going to then take that picture and try to write out what they think is the picture is explaining, the story of it. And then the fourth person is going to then try to draw it. So we're going to see if, just like stories change over time, if it matches up at the end. So, get this one.
Oh, it's helpful, but drawing in pictures.
Right, if you don't mind participating. Who got the question here?
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
So I write the answer.
Yeah, and then I put it on my draw, and then you give it to me, and then I give them. No? Oh, that might be good. You want, I'm 2, I was 3.
We're gonna go over the directions in a second again. Don't worry.
May or may not have all looked at it. So one of us looked at it?
Only one. Okay, so just to reiterate. So you're gonna look at this question. You're going to then create your story, and you're gonna be timed. So you're each gonna get a minute to do this. Remember, it's supposed to be fun, and you want to be creative, have your answer to the stories, and like that. So, first person who has the question, when I say go, you're going to write your answer to the question. On the line side of your index card. So, ready, set, go. You have 1 minute. So you should be writing down your answer to the question, whoever got the question. You can be as creative as you want. You just want a few sentences, however long you think you can do. Only the person who got the question looks at it.
I am.
You have 30 seconds. You have 20 seconds or so. Remember, you don't want your other group members to see the question because we want it to be a surprise. You have 5 more seconds. All right, so you're going to take that piece of paper and pass it to your right, and you're going to flip it over and start drawing. So you're going to draw what you think the story is. Remember, don't worry about your art ability. It's however you want to do it. But we're going to start in 3, 2, 1. You are drawing your answer to what you think it would look like. Remember, if you're proficient in stick figures, that's wonderful. 30 seconds left on the clock. Try to get across the story that was the answer. Yeah, 20 seconds left.
Sometimes give the ability to fly too.
All right, so 10 more seconds.
The more it does that, the right on her.
Okay, so time's up. Stop drawing. You're going to pass that drawing to the person to their right, and then they're going to write on their new index card what they think the picture is trying to, and changes the intent, right? Anyone else? I'm going to call on anyone who doesn't raise their hand. Yes. What's your answer to that question? How might stories change after your experiences with?
Because you might interpret differently, like you see something, but your mind is different than their mind, so you think something different.
Yeah, things change and different interpretations of how we view things. Think of generation to generation. The typical thought process of your grandparents and what they thought about things is probably a lot different from what you think now. But yeah, so that was a little lesson on Dreamtime. That was it. Thank you for participating. I'm going to collect all of your papers and things, but I really appreciated everyone. So thank you very much.